All right, everyone. Hello, hello. Welcome to Money, Sex, and God. I haven't been on in a while, but honestly, I wanted to reignite this when I heard about my dear friend Larry and his story and where he is now in his life and just the gems and the things that he's become awakened to and aware of, I feel like are so valuable for this community. So I'm going to introduce him in a second. And before I do that, if you're watching live, make sure to say hi, tell us where you're watching from. And if you are watching on the replay, hashtag replay. And as we go along, I'll be checking the feed for any questions. We can ask Larry live if anything comes up. And if you're on replay, we'll get back to you when we can. But I'm super duper excited to introduce a man that, gosh, you've just had quite a life journey. And that life journey has given you quite a spiritual understanding, and one that is such a gift now for our community. So I'd love if you could introduce yourself with a little bit about where you were and a little of what happened and where you are now before we go deeper.
Well, where I was, I'm not sure where to start the story. I can start where I met you, Genevieve.
Yeah, let's start there.
I mean, that was like 3 years ago where we were both training with Jaya to become coaches. Yeah. And I know that even when I was in the hospital, there were texts. I just realized there was texts back and forth. So you were part of that hospital experience. And also Costa Rica, we did that together. So
that was amazing. Yeah. And you were a sex coach, you were on that journey, and you were living a pretty good life, you know?
I was living an amazing life. And I mean, Costa Rica was right before this happened. Yeah. From Costa Rica, I went right to Mexico. But this is jumping forward and backward. I mean, I began a journey of learning about sexuality and relationships I would say about 12 years ago. I started with Satyan Raja. You work with him.
Yes.
And I did his Warrior Sage program because I was in a sexless marriage at the time. And I wanted to find out what my responsibility was in relationships and, not put the blame on my wife and find out who I am and work on myself. And I didn't realize all the spirituality that was going to be thrown my way because I was not a spiritual guy at all. I mean, I'm like video game, comic book reading, not woo-woo at all. But my life, I mean, it changed, and I'm still very scientific and skeptical, but I believe in the woo-woo. I can tell you that. I've experienced it on a very deep level when I essentially died in the hospital and came back to life and had what are called near-death experiences, and it turned my life around and my vision. And I still work with sexuality, but I think my focus now is on trauma because of what I do.
Yeah, I mean, I remember when you were going through that, right? To have this, I remember the expansion that you were in Costa Rica, first of all, and just how you were so happy and joyful and living this life of just like, woo, and then this happened, right? And there was a depth that it gifted you on the other side. And I know you have an interview with Dustin where you went deeper into what happened, but I know people are going to be curious a little bit. So can you give them a little bit of what this particular trauma, what this particular situation was, so that they can follow our story?
Yeah, I was in a small village in Mexico, and it was very rural. There wasn't access to medical care, and I don't know exactly what happened. Nobody knows exactly what happened. Psychic told me I was attacked by spirits, but who knows? My intestines opened and started to leak sepsis into my body. So I was basically poisoned and my organs were shut down. And it was over a period of, because I wasn't diagnosed right, I was getting blood transfusions. And by the 5th day of that, I was already hallucinating. And I was already pretty much incoherent and babbling and in like such pain. I can't even describe the levels of pain. It was like, I would wake up and I would just be like in a giant ocean of pain because my body was signaling me that I wasn't going to get through this. So I got airlifted to San Diego and I spent 20 days in intensive care and then another like 3 weeks in a rehab center because I came out of this not able to walk. couldn't talk. I could barely function. I was basically completely disabled, and I was living in that world of. I'm getting emotional talking about this, but I was living in the world of disabled for a while, where I had a walker, and my whole vision of being disabled and seeing people. I called it marginalized people. I told Jaya shadow people, but all of a sudden it's like, I had this privileged middle class white guy life, and all of a sudden I was completely marginalized. Like I could see people look at me and just, I was in their way just because of the way I looked. It was yellow and I was frail and I just looked like somebody that made people uncomfortable. Just like being in a public with people, I could see people cross the street and not even want to make eye contact with me. And
Can you tell us a little bit? Sorry to interrupt you, but I'm so focused right now on, for whatever reason, it's coming into my awareness of people that have had trauma that now have a sad or angry relationship with their bodies, right? Or a shameful experience with their bodies. And I'm curious about how you felt about your body at that time, or how you do now, and how that shifted from where you were, right?
well, at that time, it was not only the shame I felt about my own body, but I could just feel it projected on me by other people. And that's why, interestingly enough, my path included somatic work. And next week I'm doing another 2-week more advanced training on somatic work.
Amazing.
And that's what helped me. And when I signed up for these programs, I had no idea that I was going to, I was a practitioner, so I was helping other people with their trauma, especially sexual trauma, but not just sexual trauma. And now all of a sudden, I'm in a position to realize the power, because my body, I'm coming to terms with it. I have a colostomy bag at this point, and I thought I would never be able to go out and meet another woman. Part of the story is the woman that was with me couldn't handle all of this and broke up with me because she didn't want to be in the caretaker role. I was crippled, and it was a lot, and it was too much. And so that opened up all my abandonment wounds and all of the, it also, that's a whole other story in terms of how I'm redefining how I show up and what relationships mean, and what kind of agreements people should have. Because you can make agreements, but what kind of agreements do you make if somebody ends up crippled?
Right.
It's not something that you talk about on a first date, or even a year, or even 3 years into a relationship. I was 3 years into that relationship. You know her.
Yeah.
Story.
Yeah. I know the level of commitment that you guys appeared to have.
Yes.
Right? Which is fascinating. Wow.
And a total surprise. I did not see that coming at all. But what was I talking about? My body, right?
The somatic. Yeah. So what started to happen? Like, where are you now with your body?
Well, I am going out on dates, and I am being sexual, but I wouldn't have been able to do it without I'm seeing a somatic worker, because the only kind of touch I got, and I did a tantra, a weekday tantra class, and like the second day of class involved touch, where we touched each other. I think we gave a massage or something, and I burst out crying because she lifted up my wrist, and I realized the only touch I got was like a nurse holding up my arm to put a needle in it. That was the only touch I got for months and months and months. My body had not been touched, and the medical community does not provide that. Like it doesn't provide touch. So already I was associating touch with trauma. If somebody touches me, it's because they're going to be putting some kind of painful thing inside my body. And then on top of that, what I realized is doing the somatic work, where I had a woman work on me hands-on, that I now, because of the breakup, I associate some loving touch with trauma. I think that someone who's going to touch me with love, and I'm probably going to, it hit an emotional nerve right there, but yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Similar to being raped, because
yes.
my body doesn't know the difference. As far as my body is concerned, if someone touches me with love, that person's going to hurt me. Yes. That person's going to leave me traumatized. So it's going to take, I have to work on seeing my body worthy of being touched again, and receiving love. And that's going to be a process. So I'm working through it, and I'm going to the healer so I don't have to bring it into my relationship. I mean, this woman I'm seeing, I don't want to bring my trauma into that relationship, so I need outside people to help me with that.
Right. And this just speaks so much to, I'm hearing you, and I'm nodding because I know what it's like. I mean, for me, as being a rape victim for 15 years and not handling that, right? And having loving touch and going into PTSD response, and that fear of getting into a relationship, that fear of sharing love, that fear of pleasure becomes so big. And what I find really fascinating in hearing you speak, Larry, and I love this, is that, because of your experience, some truths now, right? You're aware of some of what the world is in a little bit different way, right? And despite knowing that, we still have human things, right? So a spiritual awakening doesn't mean that our traumas and our fears go away. What I'm hearing in you, though, is that you're holding it. Like, I hear you talking about yourself, you're watching yourself in this really beautiful witness fashion. And it's inspiring. And I hope it's also giving permission to our viewers to be in their human emotion, still knowing the truth.
Well, yeah, and the human emotions include the dark, the dark, like I go there and I have to keep reminding myself, like, I could go into a place of it's a messed up world and people are cruel and people don't have compassion, but I go the opposite. It's like I go towards compassion, I go towards understanding, I go towards forgiveness instead of to that other place. And it's easy to fall into that other place, and I'm aware of it. I could be that, bitter guy. And I could be that at times, and I could give myself permission, but I can't live there. I can't stay there. And I need,
go ahead.
Well, I also need to, I'm so used to doing everything by myself. I never ask anyone to take care of me. That was the irony of the relationship, is I was the one always in control. And all of a sudden, when I could not be in that position and the role switched, the polarity switched, the sexuality switched, the man-woman relationship switched. I couldn't be a man if I was a baby. If I was a baby learning how to walk, I couldn't be the masculine. And all of the eroticism went out of the relationship.
This is speaking to this new paradigm of relating that I feel like is so important, which is to become agile with your love and with your polarity. Become willing to be fluid, so that what if your man becomes a baby, right? How can you still achieve polarity by being the opposite, right? Finding what's needed and being the opposite, instead of being in a space of, well, I've read all the books on masculinity and they need to be more masculine and they need to figure it out, right? That's such a beautiful lesson of agility in love. And I thank you. That's gorgeous. What are some of the other lessons other things that came up through your awakening? I know you had a lot of, I remember you talking about having these little moments, like coming close to death. Did you actually die? Were you actually?
I did actually die, yes. I did actually die. Literally, I was, and also by the time I was airlifted to San Diego, I wasn't quite dead, but I could see myself dying. I could feel the clock ticking. I knew that there were seconds, and literally there were seconds. They rushed me right into emergency surgery. They didn't even run any tests or anything. They just took one look at me, and I just remember the gurney speeding down the hallway. Everyone had to move out of the way. It was like, this guy needs immediate attention. And when that was happening, I wasn't even there. I wasn't in the hospital. I was already having these visions of another world. And
can you tell us about that world? Where were you?
Well, the way I look at it now is it was sort of like a dense download that I'm still unpacking. It was like so much information in such a little time. Like, the literal deaths was probably just seconds when I flatlined. It was probably just seconds. And yet in my mind, it was like this thing, the seed was planted that is still expanding every single day. You know, like even when I have to walk my dad's dog, and I'm like, I pay attention to what my dog does. Like I pay attention to how much joy he gets in smelling poop on the ground. And it's like wow, like there's a lesson in that. I'm not gonna be on my knees smelling people's, you know, their poop, but just like the joy of being in the moment isn't something that I don't need to read those books about it anymore. It's like I can just find peace with where I'm at. And also like a sense of knowing. Like I read all those books and I did all those workshops, but it's like a sense of knowing that's given me a lot more confidence. Like I am enough, I have enough. I don't need to prove anything to anyone. I mean, shit, I look death in the eye. That makes me a badass right there. I mean, that's more than Muhammad Ali. I mean, that's the ultimate opponent right there. I stared death in the fucking eyes, and I came out of it. And you know, I don't need to prove anything anymore to anyone. And just like settling into that, like not having to run, not having to chase, not having to get people to like me. I'm done with that. I mean, I'm done with it, and I wasn't done with that before, because you know, and I'm not saying I'm 100% done with it, because my shit comes up. You know, it still comes up.
Yeah, you're still a human. You didn't die, right? But there's this awareness, or you did die and you're back. But there's this awareness of who we all really are. And I wonder, I think about this a lot, because I had a similar, I didn't die, but mine was through pleasure, which was way fun. But you can also die to get to this awakening, apparently. I'm making light of it, which is
but you know that an orgasm is called the little death
right
in France, and
yep.
and there is a relationship. I mean, I've done also like medicines, you know, different sorts of medicine journeys, and there's and orgasm. You know, I do sex magic and orgasmic states through sex magic, and there is definitely those states are the same. You know, what I saw in my near-death experience and what I saw doing a medicine journey, and what I saw doing, you know, tantric sex rituals, when you reach that state, it's the same. And,
wow.
We touch on it. It's just that I think the intensity of this experience was such a huge download that it's just much more solid now. You know, like
yes.
in the state of a tantric ritual, it comes and then it goes away. You know, like you have to keep anchoring it in, and like this one is not going away. This is part of it's with me now. So it stays with me longer, and I don't have to keep reminding myself of those other states. So I think that's a different, but definitely in orgasm, you can reach these states. And see, that was one of the things when I was in pain, I had to use my mind to get out of it. And I kept thinking of pain as a circle. Like I said, if this pain gets high enough, does it ever turn into pleasure? Like, could I ever like turn this thing into like, it goes up, and then can I find pleasure out of this? But I couldn't.
Like a true sex coach. That's what I would be doing in the hospital too. I'd be like, come on. Yeah. You didn't. There wasn't any. You couldn't find.
There was no pleasure, but there was like pride in controlling it, and like going through it, and like enduring it gave me a sense of not only pride but perspective now of what's uncomfortable and what's real pain. And,
you know. Yeah, what is real pain?
Well, it's so much that my mind has blocked it out. Just I remember at the time, it's like when we talk about like our orgasms and like the different textures and flavors of it. There's all different flavors of pain. There's burning pain, and there's you know, like pulsating, and there's like when you really sit in it, you can start making distinctions. But it's a test. It's like pain is telling you, it's a wake up. It's like my body shut down and it started to wake up again. And I've been doing a lot of, I'm going to share this. I've been doing a lot of self-healing and meditations, like all this stuff that I've learned over the years prepared me for this. I don't think I would be here talking to you because as I said, I couldn't walk or talk, and here it is. It's only a few months later. This didn't happen that long ago. I've been doing self-healing practice, and when I was in the hospital, they told me I had like advanced psoriasis. I don't know what's called, of the liver. And I recently got tested, and it's like back to normal, like back to like when I was 20 years old. So that's meditation and self-healing and even self-pleasure practices. It's like I'm healing my own body, and it's only because I've been doing this work.
Wow. I love that frame of all the work prepared you for that moment. And yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of speechless. I'm kind of, I guess what I would ask you, Larry, is now that you're back here, right? What's something that you'd want to, I know that telling people doesn't really do much, or they have to experience to a certain extent a level of loss and pain. But what's something that you are now conscious of or now aware of that if you could have known it earlier, it would have saved you a lot of struggle? Is there anything that you have this awareness now that you're like, fuck, this would probably help a lot of people?
Well,
right? Yeah.
I mean, I'm working on a speech right now for going on stage, and I rewrote it like 10 times trying to figure out what my message is. And I finally figured out it has to do with compassion. And I know that before this happened, my mother was really sick, like 4 years of extended illness. And I was there for her, but I was not really there for her. And I didn't really know I mean, I thought I was compassionate. Like I'll see a homeless person and I'll give them $1 or something. But now, the difference is now when I pass a homeless person, it's not about giving them $1 or not. I find myself like taking a breath and like feeling, well, first of all, I get emotional, so I'll give me a breath. But I see them, like I see them, and the first question is like, I want to sit down and I want to talk to them. I want to know their story. I don't, but in my mind, I'm taking a breath. I'm taking a moment. I'm taking a moment to feel my own emotions, my own body as it goes through my body, and it's like true compassion. It's different. It's different than just like, oh, I want to give this guy $1 because I need to get my gas, and this person's in my way. Because I was in that position where I was in people's way just because I wasn't doing anything. I was just looking. I just looked weird. I mean, I was yellow and skinny, and I looked weird, and I was in people's way. And now I see people, and they're not in my way. It's like I just let the feeling. I just let the feeling be in my body. And I don't have to do anything. I don't have to give them $1. Not that, sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. I mean, we would have no money if we gave every single homeless person and saved every single whale and went to Iran and put ourselves in front of those missiles, whatever. We can't save the world, but we could feel. And I think it's hard for people. I think it's not something like, that's what I'm learning. It's not compassion. We're born with it as babies, but we really have to experience something in order to really, really, really come to that place of true compassion. And I don't think it's an easy thing to have. I mean, we're busy. We have cell phones and internet and a lot of distractions that actually rewires our brain against it. And, I've even studied the science on this, like there's neurological pathways of compassion and we're wired against it because of our drive to succeed.
Wow. Yeah. So much love is arising in my body hearing you speak on this, and you're just so real, Larry. It's so beautiful. It's a gift. It's a gift to be able to be in the presence of someone that's real. So thank you. And I know, I mean, I'm going to take your 30-minute call that you're offering my community. I want one. But yeah, so tell us a little bit about what you want to gift the people that are watching this and what you're available for, because I know everyone will want to soak up these truths.
Well, I mean, I had to redo my business basically from scratch, because my business originally was a relationship sexuality business with my partner who's no longer with me. And that was a huge question. Like, how could I be a relationship coach if my relationship bombed? But then I don't know if it bombed or not. Like those questions I can't answer, but I can certainly be, I certainly know the trauma of heartbreak at this point
Mhm.
and how to get through that.
Mhm.
Getting your self-esteem back after something like that, and knowing that there's questions that will never be open. You know, oh, I'm never going to know the answers to some of these questions. And I went through my own process called conscious uncoupling, which I did by myself. I mean, one of our coaches, Tsunami, helped me. So thank you if you're watching this.
Mhm.
In order to get through that. So the question is, what do I have to offer? Is the old website and all of that is different now. I used to focus on men's sexuality and erectile dysfunction and all of that, but now I'm offering trauma therapy and breakup therapy, and kind of bringing spirituality into your regular life, and getting through the hard times, and you know, getting through the darker times, and offering a vulnerable space for somebody to be real, and like to, you know, there's no dark deep secrets that I can't hold at this point. I've been to the darkest place that you could be, and I mean, I lost everything. I lost all my money. You know, I incredible debt. I couldn't work. You know, I lost a relationship. I'm living with my dad now, and it's just like I've lost everything, and I'm still on my feet, and I'm going to where the light is, and it's not always easy. So, I mean, I have so many years of training and techniques which I've used on my own. I mean, I'm healing my own body. I got my liver back to where it was when I was in my 20s.
Yeah.
So
It's amazing. Yeah. And tell us, I know, so first of all, the people can talk to you, they can call you. And I have well, they're going to email you. And you said the first 10 people can jump on calls with you, just a half hour complimentary. Thank you. That's,
I mean, I have tons.
Such a gift. Sorry, that just back. There we go. And I also wanted to mention your GoFundMe that is happening right now because you lost everything. And I know there are many people that are generously want to support you. So you just got hit with more medical bills or something like that?
$258,000 right here that I didn't even know that I owed. I mean, I found out my medical bills were more than $2 million. So that's what I'm worth. I'm a millionaire. I'm worth $2 million. I never knew what I was worth, and now I know what I'm worth. And I could, when I look, it's like when I'm going out on dating, I'm gonna say, "You're looking at a millionaire, dude." You know. So yeah, millions and millions of dollars in hospital, but it's not all covered. And
Wow.
hit $258,000. That was more than my son's medical school.
It's just insane. I don't know. That's insane. So if you guys are watching this, please donate to Larry. I would also offer that if you're going to get on a call with Larry, go to the GoFundMe link and donate as an energetic exchange, though I know he's not asking for that or needing that, but that's something I would do in integrity. And yeah, anything else you want to say to end? This has been, I feel so alive in hearing your story of death, fascinatingly. But anything else you want to share with the community?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think I could say some of the tools and techniques I've learned. I mean, I'm coming from a background of Tantra. I'm coming from a background of hypnotherapy, neurolinguistic programming, somatic work, which I'm doing a 2-week intensive to go to a more advanced level of that hands-on work. Nonlinear movement, which is something that I use to move your body through emotions. So plus whatever spiritual downloads I got. I mean, I don't want to claim that I've turned into some, you know, psychic mystic or anything like that, but I've certainly learned lessons that that were book lessons before. And when I make a decision now, I could feel what's the right decision. You know, like my intuition is a lot deeper, and also my clarity when I'm talking to someone, I could almost like see what they're going through. Like I can see the pain points. Like even just somebody I'm just meeting, it's almost like I could see the deeper pain points, like whatever it is that they're telling me on the surface, there's something deeper. And I could see it. Like I could see in their body where there's tension, just looking at them, like where they're holding it in their shoulders and where they're holding it in their face and where they're holding it. And like question that, what's going on? Why is there so much tension here? What's going on?
Beautiful. I love that. Yeah, I mean, you have so many gifts. Working with you would be amazing for everyone. So I really hope that you get to take those calls and help people. And yeah, you're a rich man, Larry. And I'm really, really grateful that you came back and you're here. Yeah. We get to see you in this form because it's quite lovely. So thank you.
Thank you for having me on, Genevieve.
Absolutely. And guys, anyone who's watching, if you have questions for Larry, you can tag him and tag me, and we'll try to get back to you when we can. But Larry, yeah, what a gift for the community. I really appreciate having you on, and I hope that all your medical bills get paid like this, and you get to play that game of being a millionaire because you are one. And and I'll talk to you soon. All right.
Okay, thank you, Genevieve, and everyone who's listening. And you gave my contact information?
I did, yep.
Okay, so they can email me, and I'm available. I'm busy, but I'm available.
Amazing, amazing, Larry. Thank you so much. Love to you. I'll talk to you soon.
Okay, thank you.
Bye.